talking. All right, we're live. I'm doing two things at once again. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the show. We have very special guests tonight. As you'll notice, Karen, she don't want to hang out with me anymore. She's at home on COVID alert. Chris is on vacation, so I'm all by myself. Obviously, I'm still here with Paul from the Dirty Oar, our sponsor of the show. Tonight we got a special guest here from Bartow, right?
Yep, that's Bartow.
Bartow, and I know Bartow because where I grew up as a kid, the next town over is Bartow, in Florida. We have a Bartow. But anyway, we have Andrea and Mike Flagg in town. They are first responder families out of Georgia. They're here and enjoying some of the Florida sunshine on vacation. And so I drug them in here so we can talk about what's going on in Georgia, whatever you guys want to talk about.
Okay.
We're not going to talk about anything that's going to get you in trouble when you go back to your department. We're not going to mention any department names. You can if you want, but we don't do that. So welcome to the show. Before we start, Paul's going to tell us what we got going for tonight. And you want my mic or you want this?
Easier. All right, good evening, everyone. This evening we brought our latest IPA. It's called Counterfeit Craft Beer. It is a 6.7 ABV India Pale Ale, 71 IBUs, made with Amarillo and Sriracha Ace hops, and with a pretty healthy Amarillo dry hop before it went in the bright tank as well. So really good drinker. We did a half batch of this, so there's 6 half barrels, and we've already managed to eliminate 2.
Wow.
So I'm fairly certain Chris and I were responsible for most of that. But, really nice.
Comes with the territory. When you say Sriracha, can y'all hear me?
Mm-hmm.
I can't hear myself, Jesse. Like the Sriracha stuff?
No. It's a kind of hops.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I
like
didn't know if it was
Amarillo,
like
Citra.
a hot
Yeah,
hop.
no.
Oh,
Just
okay.
a unique flavor.
And I only know that because my sons every night put Sriracha. Is it Sriracha or Sriracha?
That's Sriracha, I think.
I think it's Sriracha.
I don't know. It's some red
It's good stuff.
It is, yeah. I might have tried it.
If Chris were here, he could tell you what the unique characteristics of that hop was.
And
but
the DNA composites.
That's right.
And the he's so technical.
that's not my
at that.
department.
I just drink. I just make it and drink it. So anyway, the Dirty Oar. Obviously, we couldn't do the show without them. Yesterday we had a really good day. So we
Awesome
attended the Back the Blue event in Merritt Island, Florida, and it was amazing how many people showed up in support. Did you see it, Jesse? It was Jesse's doing the producer thing. He just gave me the head nod. Like, you don't have a mic, man. We took his mic away from him. Jesse, the producer, he's not allowed to talk on his show. Anyway, I mean, the amount of people. How many people you think were there?
I think 500 at least. I think all in between, from 1 to 4 was when the event was. But I think all in there was 500 at least.
It was pretty big. I never made it out to the road where they were doing that. Did you get out there?
No, but Eric came. I mean, you were still hanging around the tent when Eric showed up, and that was probably 45 minutes in. He said there was a line to get in at the entrance, and he had to wait.
Had the sheriff in the dunk tank. Our tent was the most popular,
Of course
obviously,
it was.
because the Dirty Oar was hanging out in our tent, and
Although I think the food gave us a run for the money at the beginning.
at the
anyway.
beginning there was a big food line, but our line was much people were much happier in our line at our tent. But we had several people. Well, I wasn't there as much as you were, but donating to Survive First, which was pretty amazing. Because we're nervous this year, obviously with all the COVID dilemmas, and then not only did we start off the year with the COVID crap, then we went into this whatever you want to call it, political melee and all these movements, and everybody was feeding the cops one week, and the next week everybody wants to kill the cops the next week.
Throwing
type of
water bottles
event.
at you.
Yeah, went from dropping off cookies to freaking Molotov cocktails in a matter of 1 week. But I can't see the sign. There's people talking to me. Ship 1 to Virginia. So Chris wants you to Oh, Eric.
Eric's on.
He's on time, man.
Jeez,
he showed
about
up.
that.
So anyway, it was amazing. Obviously, Sheriff Ivy showed up, and his guys, Chief Cantaloupe was there from Cocoa. It was amazing. I was really impressed. And I always love events like that because I get to see all my old cop buddies, and, I get to feel like a cop somewhat, and it was just really neat. I can't say enough nice things. And we got a lot of comments, and emails from people thanking us for what we did. And it was pretty neat.
Yeah.
We got
it's really well run, too.
Well,
very organized.
The people from the event, his buddy of mine named Nick, and he owns Elite Security. And if I said it right. And they put that event together, he said, in 3 weeks. And I told him it couldn't have been at any better of time to let the cops know. And I'm going to bring this subject into what we got going on tonight. Let the cops know, like, hey, not every, don't believe the hype. Every week I get on this show and I say, hey, don't put your phones down, turn your social media off. It's not like that. We had this conversation on the way over here in the truck. I told him, we don't have really that big of an issue here. Generally, the people in Brevard County support the police. I haven't seen anti-police, but I've seen anti-Republican remarks. Like, we got them on social media on the event. It was all, Democratic type stuff, because they know cops are Republicans. They know the sheriff's obviously a Republican, so they wanted to bash him. It wasn't towards, more cop-oriented, but anyway, it was a positive event. Really, really impressed by what took place.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, and they needed it. The cops out there, they really needed to know that, law-abiding citizens appreciate you. And that's what I had to, I can't just not comment, man. When somebody picks a fight with me, we're going to fight. And somebody said something about that today, and, and I said, listen, man, it's a simple fix. If you don't want to get hurt by the police, don't break the fucking law. It's just what I told them. It's a simple freaking fix.
Amen.
I've never had my ass kicked. Have you ever had your ass kicked by the police, Paul? Have y'all?
No, sir.
Well, granted, we are police at some point, but even when I wasn't, or any time, because I just obeyed the law, and if I get pulled over, here's my license, I got pulled over not too long ago in my hometown. The guy walked up to the car and said, put your hands on the steering wheel.
Okay.
I thought he was joking. I've never had that before, and so I put my hands on the steering wheel. I was like, I don't want this guy putting a bullet in the back of my head. So I just did what he said, and when we were done, man, it was a positive thing. He just did his job to move on. So it's a pretty simple. That's what I tried to explain to this person on social media today. And then they went to dogging me about the blue line flag, how it's a disgrace to the American flag. No, it's really not. It just everybody has a flag. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Everybody has a flag. Yeah. The Boy Scouts have a flag. The from Boy Scouts to gay pride to restaurants have flags, and it's not a disgrace to the American, because the American flag is the American flag. And if you got a problem with cops using that blue line flag or the fire guys putting the red line in there, don't have a problem with that. Go to these protests and have a problem when they're burning the American flag or they're stepping on it and they're dragging it down the road, is how the comment went. And so anyway, let me give some shout outs. Hey, Linda, thanks for being on the show. Brian, it was a great event. Brian was there with his dog. That dog is legendary at this point. And
did you already say Dan was there?
Dan was there. Yeah, it was Dan who we gave the basket to. Yep. And my brother's on. Hey, bud, you broke your rule, social media. I know. Well, unfortunately, of course, my freaking jackass brother has to call me out on my own show. Hey, Randy, I'm glad you're on the show. Yeah, so unfortunately, I have to do social media stuff for the show, and then Trauma Behind the Badge, and hey, Adam, I just, Adam.
Yeah.
So
didn't see
Kathy.
him there yesterday. But he's probably working.
No, listen,
sure working.
I don't want to punk you out, Adam, if you're listening to the show, but do you work anymore? Like, I have an excuse because I'm retired. Okay, but every time Adam's on social media, that sorry ass is in a boat in some tropical island doing something
Eric
nice.
even said that yesterday. I asked him where he was, and he made that comment. Oh, I think he's on vacation.
He's on vacation again. You got it licked. And anyway, so we're going to dive into the show. We're going to talk about we're going to so before you go, Paul, take that back real quick. For the people who don't know, tell everybody where they can find you at. That's usually Chris's job.
Right. Yeah, we're at 329 King Street in Cocoa Village, just about a block east of US 1 on the south side. Currently, we're only able to open for takeout, so we have somewhat limited hours right now. Wednesday and Thursday, we're open 2 to 6. Then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, noon to 6. A little birdie told me that there may be some changes to that come Friday, but I'll believe it when I see it.
So we can take out back to Atlanta.
Yes. Yes, you can take a nice crowler can with you. We have 64-ounce growlers. We'll hook you up.
And you know, that's what I told everybody in a post today. Like, hey, listen, even if you got to drive the extra mile, if there's an organization that's not that's representing you, or what's the word I'm looking for? I don't have Karen and Chris here to
Supportive.
give me supportive organization. Support them. That's what I told everybody. If you're and listen, man, I know all you beer drinking fools out there. Of course, if you're a friend of mine, you're on that. Go buy it from there. Support the people, which is funny. Have you ever heard of Dollar Shave Club?
Yeah. Yes.
So I got an email today. They basically put obviously I don't use them, but I did at one time. So now Karen utilizes
I just make up for you.
Yeah, thank you. Well, that's why I wear the hat. So, but anyway, they put a post out saying that if you're a cop and you're not part of this whole movement, find a new place to buy your razor. So I said, okay, you ain't the only asshole selling razors out there. Yeah, cool. I don't use them anymore anyway. My wife uses them. I guess you're gonna have to go back to doing whatever she used to do before we had that. But support your local breweries. That's the most important thing. Support the people that support you is what I want to get at.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks.
And then Adam said he works really hard every day.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
it's real
It's
hard.
all in all caps, too. I can see that.
Yeah, he's mad now, but it's real hard driving a boat every day out there in the sunshine, right? We're just punking him, man. He's one of the boys. He works hard, man. He puts his life on the line every day for people he doesn't even know. So, we love you, Adam, man. But anyway, so we're going to get into it. Tell us are you staying or are you going? All right, I'll see you, brother. I'll see you Wednesday night.
We'll see you Wednesday?
Yeah,
Wednesday night.
I hope to see you this
We'll
week.
do a drive. We'll do a stop by and support the supporters.
Don't forget your sign.
And my sign. So anyway, tell everybody a little bit where you're coming from, and what you do there, and then we're going to get into kind of want to talk about what's it like in Atlanta right now.
Okay.
Because you're pretty much Atlanta, right? I mean, you're in that window, just north, like between Atlanta and Stone Mountain, or north of that. I don't really know the area.
Stone Mountain's east of Atlanta.
It's east of Atlanta. Okay, I've been there.
She's northwest.
And she's northwest.
Yeah, northwest.
All right, everybody got it? Because it's important to me, man. I got to have my demographics. So,
perimeter.
I only know. I don't.
We're outside the toilet bowl.
Outside.
Is what we say.
Okay.
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock. I understand that. It's me. If you can't, can you hear me now better, Don? My brother's telling me he can't hear me because I'm not used to this new mic. This fancy equipment Jesse's got in here, this Joe Rogan setup we got going on here.
This is pretty sweet.
It is pretty sweet, ain't it? Yeah, it's pretty nice. So anyway, so tell us.
So I've got 20-something years in law enforcement. I've done everything from foot patrol to patrolling the streets of Atlanta to community-oriented policing. I'm now in the evidence room. I've done investigations for Fulton County District Attorney's Office, so I've worked for a large district attorney's office. Kind of everything in between, the gamut. I'm also now the team lead for our negotiators, so I deal with that too. Just about everything. So I've seen a lot of stuff. Probably the majority of the stuff I saw was when I was working with Atlanta. I haven't seen as much working with Bartow. I've also worked with juveniles too in the juvenile court and dealing with that type of stuff. So.
Man, they used her like a mop, didn't they, man? They
Big time.
they took you on a ride.
Do we not have anybody? Oh, let's give it to Andrea.
Yeah, Andrea will do it. That's like the Mikey will do it. People listening probably don't know that commercial. I remember that commercial very well. Mikey likes it. Mikey likes it. That's what it was.
Wasn't that Life cereal?
Yeah,
Yes.
it was Life
Okay.
cereal. Yeah, Mikey likes it. So, you don't see as much now, but it's been pretty rough up there. Is
Yeah.
what we we all understand.
Yeah.
Is that why you came here on vacation? You had to get a break.
Yes,
from
definitely needed a vacation. I was actually talking to another negotiator from another agency, and he's like, "Yeah, it sounds like you need a vacation."
Yeah.
I said,
Which
"Yep."
this is odd. Sorry, Mike. This is odd because it's not very often you see a SWAT guy or even a sniper sitting at the table with a negotiator because, between the two, it's usually like, oh, man, here they come. They're going to ruin all our fun.
Yep, that's right. I'm
And,
the talkie.
Yeah, well, people used to, they used to, what does SWAT stand for? And we used to say, stop, wait, and talk. And that was the dig at the crisis negotiators. And anyway.
I think I've heard that one before.
You have? Yeah. It wasn't my thing. Mine was, let's just shoot them first and we'll talk about it later and figure it out. But that doesn't last too long in that industry. But anyway, so, and what's it like has it been difficult being married to that?
Ball of stress.
Yeah.
Every day.
Every day.
And just lack of support out there on social media.
Yeah.
The county she's in and the county we live in are both blessed to be pretty conservative counties.
Okay.
So in the county itself and the people around us, the support's there, but you just still see the negativity in the news and it affects them.
Or on Facebook, yeah.
I think the hardest part that we're dealing with now, and I'm going to jump off topic a minute. I think because I seen a friend of ours on there. You'll see up there, Kathy Bustos. So I know her and her husband Javier, and they're real big into the spousal peer support. And so now is like the time where that type of stuff is important in a department and also important at home, because it's really hard to go out to work and on a good day before all, when they were serving us cookies every day at work, it was even hard because, people just don't realize. And when I teach classes, I always tell these guys, like, who in the hell in their right mind would get up and go do a job that you got to put a bulletproof vest on? If you just said that to the average person and said, hey, you're going to need to wear a bulletproof vest tomorrow when you come to the office because
I think you're crazy.
They'd go, no, I ain't doing that, right? And we used to say the same thing for firefighters. Like, man, you're just going to run in that building? It's on fire. I joke about this on the show. I'd be like,
There's something upstairs.
I'd be like, hey, man, sorry for your luck, man. You just got to build a new one. I ain't going in there, right? And so I always found that to be pretty crazy. That's why I'm not a firefighter. But
they just shoot at you.
yeah, they just shoot at us, right? I didn't mind that. Like, that always got me excited. I was always like, oh, you want to party? Let's rock and roll. I'm here to party. It was the other stuff I didn't like, the politics in the department. And I brag about my police chief, my last police chief. The police chief before my last one was a jerk, and he obviously caused me a lot of issues, And we've talked about that on the show, but I love my police chief. We had a great supportive, even in my worst of times, they were the city that I worked for. They were very supportive. The guys were supportive, but I still always had that that people used to, being a surfer and living on the beach, they go, aren't you scared of sharks? And I go, I'm more scared of the sharks in the hallways at work than I am out on the streets. Well, now that's changed. Obviously, it's back out on the streets. I mean, it's important to have a good working environment, period. Because if you're going to work and back to it, you got to put a bulletproof vest on. And even if you don't, I always had concerns, and I'll say it now, I'm retired, but we had an evidence tech guy, and he was phenomenal. I love this guy to death.
Just like this one.
You got to have a good evidence tech, because first of all, like being a dope guy, I remember one time we see so much stuff we had to basically rent a semi. We hit a casino.
Was this in Miami?
We hit a casino, like one of them gaming casino places, right? And so we had to seize everything. And we were almost like, no, let's not do it, because I don't feel like doing all that paperwork. But we had to do the job. And the evidence guy comes in, and he's got his system, and he knocked it out. And then when we, with drugs everywhere, 100 pills and cocaine and drugs, he was just a huge helping hand. And he would show up on scene. And when we raid a house, the party's not over until you get in the van and get back safe in the parking lot. We had that happen to us. We served a search warrant one time. We were all done. We were talking out, and guys, we were barking, hey, you got this, you do that. And then all of a sudden, the guy came out of the house, started shooting at us. And we had SWAT medics, and we had SWAT medics on our team, and they didn't have guns. And that at that point, let me, hey, this guy needs to have a vest. So our evidence guy, I always used to go to him. His name was Justin. I'd be like, you got a gun on you? And he's like, I'm not allowed to do that. I go, listen, I'm telling you, man, I don't care what the rule is. You need to put one of them in your vest, because if the very bottom drops out, what are you going to do? I mean, you never know. You got to be prepared for that type of stuff. So it's a dangerous job, let alone, you got to go into a house where there's radical stuff to look at. I had problems with crime scenes. I didn't like them. They affected me. I didn't like bad crashes, hence why I never was a traffic guy. I didn't like to, I would go hang out with the detectives and do the homicide stuff, and, just go there because we just didn't want to do anything else type of stuff. Like patrol shows up, they just don't want to go to a call. And it just used to bother me. And so now that I think about this even more, how often do you pay attention to the evidence tag? How often do departments pay attention to evidence? Listen, you can't bash it, right? I get it. So, in all the stuff I do, all the speaking and all the teaching and the shows that we do, I've never even thought about it until just now. The evidence tech that I worked with for all the years that I was a cop, there was like 3 or 4 of them. They were always just incredible people. But never once dawned on me like, hey, man, now I would guess you would filter them in as part of the police department, under police. Mm-hmm. But do they focus internally on that particular because most, all our evidence techs were civilians. We didn't have cops as evidence. They were civilians. So did they get the proper? So, Adam, are you still on the show? Is your evidence tech or anybody on the show, can you tell me if your evidence techs are either law enforcement or civilian? I'm curious now. But how important is that, right? Mm-hmm. To have that in your department?
It's really important. I know a lot of agencies, they have non-sworn evidence techs. And they're good because they're the most organized, and they pay more attention to stuff. But I think it's also good, like in our agency, we're both sworn. There's 2 of us. And so we're law enforcement just like everybody else. We've got vests, we've got guns. So if we go out on a scene, we're protected. But, I mean, I like that we do sworn, and that's mostly because of our DA. She wanted
And you're frightfully organized.
And I'm frighteningly that's why I'm the evidence custodian. I'm frighteningly organized.
Got to be organized. So, I'm not. So my one buddy, I'm not going to say names of departments because I just don't know how, But my one buddy Adam, he said civilian, and he works for a big agency in Florida. And then Chris from the other show, that's his code name up there. He said non-sworn as well, and he's up in Virginia. So I'm curious to how many. I never thought about that, but that's just something we can look into. You know, do the civilians in law enforcement, do they feel comfortable enough to so do you have a peer support unit in your department?
Unfortunately not.
Okay. Do you have any type of program that can be facilitated in that direction? Meaning, do you guys have somebody you can reach out to outside of EAP?
No.
Do you have EAP?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
I know of people that I can reach out to, and I've actually recommended people to other individuals with my agency to go and speak to people that specialize in issues that are relevant to law enforcement or who have dealt with the stress of law enforcement. We've got some people in our area. So I
And you got us now.
And I've got you.
We're going to tell the story how we met in a little bit. So I can't see the name. Is it Cullen? Is it Cullen?
Yay,
Cullen,
Cullen.
You know Cullen?
Yep.
I love him, man. He's such a big supporter.
You know Colin too.
What's
I do.
Colin? Do you guys have civilian or for your evidence tech? Do you have civilian?
He works
or
at the same agency.
Oh,
I
he
do.
does.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind, Colin. Just enjoy the show. John Salerno. John, post all your information so people can see it. John Salerno is a great friend of ours. He's in Texas. He's part of the Laughter Saves Lives, bringing comedy to law enforcement, which is an oddity. Mm-hmm.
Sounds cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. He does quite a bit of work. They just did a huge event in Texas yesterday for Back the Blue. So, John, if you're still on the show, can you tell me if the agencies he's an NYPD guy, but were they civilian? We're just curious if they were civilian or sworn for your evidence techs. Please get a peer support team if you can. Yeah, so Kathy on the show, they have the peer support couple. Have you ever seen that?
Mm-hmm.
They're everywhere. You know, they're the peer support couple. They do quite a bit. Next week, tomorrow night on our other show, we have Warriors Rest coming on the show, and they do peer support training as well. I'm not a peer support type of guy. You would think, right? I'm just the guy that pulled off, shooting myself and all the other radical stuff I did. But I don't, I'm not the type, people go, hey, can you teach us peer support? And I'm like, you don't want me to teach because I'm one of them dudes, I could just, it depends what day you catch me on. One day I might hug you. The next day I might look at you and go, man, fucking suck it up, dude. Get back to work. But
Very supportive.
Yeah, I'm going to help you.
Sounds familiar.
I'm going to do whatever I can, But I don't, that's just not my thing. And I stay in my lane. I stay in my lane, and what does that mean, Chris? I don't.
TBT?
TBT. Come on, man. I'm a Polk County educated guy, man.
I'm over 50. I don't know that.
I don't know the code.
It's like a millennial thing.
Text it to me, Chris, if it's something horrible. But anyway, so I don't know if I should ask this question. Let me rethink it. What would be the best thing that we as a community could do to get that involvement in there? And or is it something that's just not, most agencies, it's a budget, financial, manpower, staffing. Is it those type of things?
There is that. I don't know that our agency is ready to accept something like that, to be honest with you. And it's sad because I know there are a lot of us that think that a peer support would be incredible. We do have a, what do you call them? It comes in on Friday. Every Friday we've got a chaplain that comes in and speaks to us. Oh. And he just goes around the different offices. He started with the people in the jail, and now he's actually come over to Criminal Investigations Division. And I find that helpful. But
so
sensitivity training.
The TBTB and my own mine and Chris's own
trauma
company.
behind the
I
badge.
don't even so sorry about that, but and that's okay because things are changing drastically, and I had Yeah, see, my brother's laughing at me too. He don't even know his own freaking business, man, his own stuff. But I just don't pay attention.
That's what
to
brothers
the
are for.
roads. Yeah, I got an awesome brother. He's in Tallahassee. My brother lives in Tallahassee. So he's closer. You know, he's up by you. He works so hard. We don't.
Tallahassee, that's much closer to Atlanta, isn't it?
Oh yeah, much.
Okay.
Right? Yeah, much closer. You tell how much I get up that way, right? So I have about a 2 to 4 hour driving limit. So my dad was in South Carolina and he was dying from cancer, and my brother's like, "Hey, we got to go up and see Dad." And I was like, "Man, I can't drive to South Carolina." You know, I said, "Well, I'll have to make you a deal. I'll drive to your house, and then you can drive the rest of the way," because he's in my limit. He's at 3.5 hours. That's the cutoff.
We've set ours at 8.
Yeah.
Oh no, man! If I got to cross the bridge, I'm mad. Once I got to go to the mainland, I'm upset.
I'm like that if I have to go inside the perimeter in Atlanta. I make her drive.
Yeah.
Yeah, he makes me drive. I know where stuff is in Atlanta and how to get around the bad stuff.
I went for work. I went to it's like a DEA conference or some stuff years ago in Atlanta. And man, I got to the airport and I jumped. Is it Marta?
Marta.
Mm-hmm. Man, and so I do this all the time, man. I leave here, I get to Orlando, I sweat, in the parking lot. I got on the plane, an hour flight probably, right? I mean, well, now I'm used to it. I fly to Atlanta every week just about. And I got to that, and it was like 25 degrees, and I didn't know the schedule. They were like, yeah, take the MARTA. And I'm standing there for like hours waiting for the train to go to wherever I had to. I was like,
Atlanta was 25 degrees?
Yeah, it was freaking freezing. I'm a sissy, man. If it gets below like 75, I'm done, man. And I've got to have special gear. And so anyway, I didn't know. I had to go to like the Peachtree area, that area on that train, and it was an experience, man.
They're all Peachtree.
Oh, is it? I didn't
Everything
see it.
is Peachtree there.
Oh, okay.
Not.
I don't know.
How
I
many
don't really
Peachtree roads and streets? And
Oh, really?
I
Well, if it makes you feel
I
any
get
better,
lost everywhere.
we have a Peachtree Street where our office is for work.
She's my GPS.
Got to have them. So, you don't have it, and so you have the pastor. I'm from the South. So what did you say he was? Priest? Chaplain. Police chaplain. I'll tell you the problem that we had with the police chaplain. So we had one my entire career, and they're wonderful guys. They're all nice guys, obviously. But nobody would talk to him. Like, I would see him coming down the hall, and I didn't have time for him. And I'm just that type of guy that when I go in work mode, I'm in work mode. I don't stop, I tell people, I took lunch probably 10 times in my career. Like a real lunch, you know what I mean? And I wasn't comfortable because, they're great guys, and I've met some wonderful chaplains. But most cops don't want to talk to a chaplain. They just don't. They don't feel comfortable with it. And that's why the peer support thing is so important. And to be honest, I don't even really understand the tiers of peer support. I just know that a mentor, some sort of mentoring program in a department. And I learned this from a guy from in the past, that he set up a mentoring program in his department, and it was amazing. The way they had it set up. And they not only did they have their mentoring program set up for help, but they also had it for when you were in trouble, and that you go to the mentor. When you get hired, you got assigned a mentor. Mm-hmm. And if you did something wrong, you went to the mentor. The mentor kind of negotiated. And then a lot of cops, including myself, when you start to get disciplinary problems or you start to get in trouble a lot, it's usually something going on. Mm-hmm. Now, every cop's going to slip up and do something that, and unfortunately in law enforcement, everything's, policies, procedures, and discipline. And it was the one thing I hated about the job. And since I've left now, that's all I hear from the guys I worked with, that all the new administration, that's all they do. Write everybody up, document. I had the same boss my whole career, pretty much every day of my career. He was my boss on SWAT. He was on, on street crimes, on the drug unit, everywhere I went, he was in some way involved with me. And he's an old school guy. Mm-hmm. He was the guy who pulled you outside, chewed the living crap out of you, and then said, okay, man, let's go hit it. Let's get back to work. Or, hey, you want to go eat? And he taught me everything. He's an original SWAT guy. He was my mentor, and to this day, he's still my very good friend. And I watched it evolve. And what really used to be discomforting was, when you become a supervisor, you change radically. And I would see a guy become a supervisor and start writing all his guys up for the same crap he did 2 months earlier when he was on the road. And that always used to really negatively affect me. And it affected my mentality, and it affected what's the morale, to come to work. And so that's why I was so pleased with the mentoring program when I heard that. And so what they would do is, if you started to show a pattern of getting in trouble, what they would do is they'd pull you aside and they say, here's the deal. We know, you go. Most cops' problems, believe it or not, are usually divorce or family oriented, and
Makes
then
sense.
it comes over to work. And I would, when I teach, I tell all these guys, hey, listen, man, you got to have your A game on. And I tell in the spousal side of it, like, don't call your husband, because I had this piece of crap girlfriend before Karen, and I would get a SWAT call out, and she would blow my phone up, and she'd think that SWAT call out meant we were all going out to the strip club. And we were, listen, we want to go to strip club. We're just going to go to strip. We're not going to go through. I'm not going to get in my cop car, turn the lights on, and drive down the road to go to the titty bar when I can walk to it from my house, right?
And you're going to see it on the news tomorrow.
And you're going to, right? And that's what I used to tell. Where are you going? I can't tell you. Just watch the news or whatever. And she would blow me up and want to FaceTime me, and it drove me nuts. Literally drove me out of my mind. And that's what I was such a big deal about it was, you claim you love your boyfriend or your girlfriend or significant other. In this day and age, is that the terminology we have to use, significant other, and but you're torturing them as they're leaving to go to work. So this guy has to go deal with an armed gunman, and you're blowing their phone up, right? So that seems to be based on a lot of stuff that I deal with. I'm on the phone every day with cops from all over the nation, and that always seems to be the nucleus, is the spousal component.
Can I interject something right
Please,
quick?
it's your show. It really is. This is all about you. I'll just start talking.
I've recently, in the past 2 years, has it been 2 years now?
Mm-hmm.
The cell phone forensics, and having dealt with crimes against women and children in Fulton County, a lot of people that work in those units, some of the things that they're seeing on a regular basis and being exposed to on a regular basis are traumatic. Mm-hmm. There's things that I've seen on cell phones. Once you see things, you know this, you can't unsee it.
Right.
And I've seen some people really struggle with some things that they've seen or some things that they've had to read about or hear in the forensic interviews, that you can't go home and talk to your spouse about what's been done to a child. That was one thing working in Fulton County.
One way to handle those.
He would tell me, I can't listen to this. And that makes it hard for me, because I need to get that out. But then again, I have some good people at work, and I hope that the people at work that deal with that know that they've also got me, that I understand, I've been through it, I've seen it, I've worked on the prosecution side of it. So I can hear those things. Mm-hmm. But then that builds up on you, hearing that and seeing it all the time.
Yeah, oh yeah. And you guys, at least you have a functioning, good family life and stuff to go home to.
Right.
Where a lot of guys don't.
You're stretching it.
I'm pushing a little
you're
bit.
pushing
Well,
it
she's
a little.
sitting right next to me, Mike. I'm trying not to get
Sleep
slapped.
with one eye open tonight.
Yeah.
I always sleep with one eye open.
You just don't know it. I do too. I live with a Latin woman, man. You never know when she's going to attack. But
Italian?
Yeah. My family's all Italian, so I'm used to that double-edged sword as well. But Italians will just beat the crap out of you, right?
And it's over and
Latin
done with.
women will cut you, man, with
And say
songs
amen
that-
as they're doing it.
Yeah, they'll cut you. You end up being on that, like, what's his name, Bobbitt. But you end up being like that. So I get. So one of my old partners, that's Rich up there on the screen, he said, we never went to a strip club. I don't recall. Of course you don't recall because we drank a lot. And but in all serious, what I tell most people, everywhere I go, so obviously, you know, I've been everywhere from Maine to Seattle to California, Texas. I've surrounded the perimeter. And every department is the same. It's usually the same thing over and over. And I always... When I get to it, and Chris, I know you're on the show, and chime in on this comment as well, because we travel together a lot, but he does a lot of stuff on his own. Most places we go to, it's that is the thing, is the discipline and the mentality and the, you know, that of the what do you call it, the morale killer. It's the disciplinary thing. It's the guys are getting beat up on the street, beat up at home, and then beat up at work. And, you know, then the era of body cameras came out, and that was just the end game for everything, right? You know, you couldn't get away with, you know, what you say and what we, you know, back in the old school days where we used to tune people up and you didn't have video cameras and all that type of stuff in there. So, you know, they're under all that amount of stress, all that amount of pressure. And then you got guys, we had them in our department as well. You got the one supervisor sits at his desk and looks at everybody's body cam footage all night long and goes, hey, you can't do that, and writes you up. I'm like, come on, man, I didn't even get a complaint. You know, thank God I didn't have a body camera because I would have been screwed many, many years ago. I just couldn't function in that capacity. So, I hope you're treated in the wake of an incident. What does that say? How often are you treated in the wake of an incident? If often, I don't know what that means. You're not talking my language today. Drive cameras now. So now they drive cameras. That's like I don't.
Dash cam?
Dash cams were actually, you know, believe it or not, when they came, we were all like, oh my God, no way in hell. And then within weeks, it was like, oh, these things are saving our lives, man. Nobody can lie on us anymore. Because, you know, the lies on police officers are outlandish. Mm-hmm. I used to get complained on for the most outlandish stuff. And every dope dealer, when we raided their house, it was always $5,000. They stole $5,000, not $4,500. It was always $5,000. And I had a guy do a formal complaint on me, internals affairs, said I came to his house, raided him, and they said, did he have a mask on? Yeah, but I know his voice, and I wasn't even in the state. But, you know, and they take the complaint, and the complaint goes into your file. Don't matter what it is, you know what I mean? And, you know, so it's stressing these guys out, and then you have nobody to turn to. Then the guys are like, okay, well, if the administration's picking on me, and they're giving me crap for all the little piddly stuff, how can I go to them and say, hey, I need help? I'm stressed out, man. I'm freaking out. I just saw this dude get his head blown off, you know, whatever. And they lose the confidence in their agencies.
You know, that made me think about something is officers when they're training to be field training officers. What about adding in some training to be mentors? Doing a mentorship as a field training officer, because I know I could have gone to any of my field training officers and said, hey, I've got an issue with this, what do you think about that? Or I've been through this, what do you think about this? I've got one now that was my field training officer when I came to Bartow County, and he's my sergeant now, and I know I can go out to lunch with him and vent to him about whatever's going on in my work life, and he's somebody I can talk to, that I feel comfortable talking to. So why can't we feel comfortable talking to our field training officers who are mentors? That's something to think about putting into training.
That's actually a great idea for the guys listening, you know, that can bring that back to work, which is a wonderful idea. Because, you know, as you were saying that, my FTOs were awesome. You know, I had the old guy who had been there one too many years, and he didn't do anything, but he drove me around and showed me where everything was at.
Or sleeps after midnight.
Right. And, you know, we had to do lunch, breakfast, dinner. Like, it was, you know,
He had a
obviously.
routine.
Yeah, I couldn't wait to hell to get out of his car. But he was a wonderful guy. To this day, I love him to death. He's a fabulous guy. And all my FTOs were awesome. But the problem that they have is in the FTO world, obviously I never was an FTO. You got to be crazy to stick me in there with a new guy. Well, if the FTO doesn't like, because listen, you can rub the training officer the wrong way first day.
Mm-hmm.
He might not even like the way you look. And so I would meet guys. I was the guy in the part. I would always go introduce myself to the new guys. And even Chris on my show. That's how we became friends. He said, "Hey, how you doing, Officer Mont?" I go, "No, my name's Doug. My parents called me Doug. That's my name. That's what you're going to call me. I don't go by that last name crap. Obviously, we work together. We're friends. If you're my friend, call me, you know, by my name." And so I would always go do that to him. And I would say, "Hey, if you need anything, I've mastered the art of fucking up. So if you do it, call me. I'll tell you how to fix it," right? And they would always complain to me and go, "Man, my FTO's just killing me, man." And so then the FTO, you know, bashing them for every little thing, because FTOs forget how hard it was to be an FTO. When I got an FTO, I was like, holy crap, nobody told me it was going to be this difficult. Learning the streets and the law, you know, because you go to the academy, and then you get out of the academy, you go to department, and they all say the same thing. Everything they taught you in the academy, forget it. Now you got to learn how we do it in the department. So it's a tremendous amount of stress. It's a tremendous amount of difficulty, and I think a lot of FTOs forget what it was like when they were in there. And unfortunately, also in our industry, everything is CYA. Right. And for you people listening, CYA stands for cover your ass. And unfortunately, and I'm using that word a lot tonight, in our industry,
we bring it out.
Yeah, the CYA, that's what it's become to. Law enforcement is all about protecting the agency, because everybody out, and as you can just put on your TV or social media, the world is full of crybabies. Mm-hmm. Nobody can talk anymore. I told you the story about, Democrats and Republicans. I'm married to a Democrat. Hardcore. People go, "Is your wife a Democrat?" I go, "My wife is so far left, she swims in the fucking Pacific Ocean, okay? And I'm in the Atlantic Ocean." We just can't have them conversations. Years ago, you used to be. And I finally said to my wife and my neighbor, who is another Democrat, right? I'm surrounded by them. We can't have these conversations anymore. The bottom line is, you like chocolate and I like vanilla. And there's no problem with that. Pretty simple. You don't get mad at me because I like vanilla.
Nope.
I don't get mad at you. There's no damn difference, right?
Right.
And so people forget that. It's hard to have conversations. It's hard nowadays. Everybody's a complainer. The dude's laughing. Poor Karen. Yeah, poor Karen. Poor me, Cullen. You know, everybody complains. We did that function yesterday, right? We did this huge it was all cops, all people who supported first responders. I say all cops, all first responders. And we had the thin blue line flag as a tablecloth, because our tablecloth wouldn't work on it. So we just compromised, right? And this dude sent me a message saying that I disrespected the flag by using it a tablecloth. And I was like, are you freaking kidding me, man? Like, you ain't got nothing better to do but message somebody about it ain't, you know, it's not even the American flag, right? So this is a communication breakdown. You obviously have it in your department, my department, every department in the, you know. So back to the original story, we need to implement those mentoring programs where these new officers, because being a cop nowadays, it's not that there's not an allure to it. You got to be insane to want to become a cop nowadays. You just signing your death sentence. I mean, a dude shoots at you, you shoot him, and you get arrested. Are you freaking kidding me? Shoot, I would have been in prison, man, at my first week. my first day on the job, I had a crackhead try to stab me, man. And I was like, so nowadays, use your taser. Okay, well, that thing don't work very often. It's just difficult. So if the agencies don't change this and implement better programs, then we're going to see it even worse. Mm-hmm. And in the law, on the big end of law enforcement, from IACP to, and I'm a member of all these. I teach for them, I speak for them. They push the medical. Like when you go to conferences, it's all some fancy ass doctor up there talking doctor talk. And I tell everybody, no cop wants to hear doctor talk. They want to hear a cop tell them how to do their job better and live better and to be able to function in it. And that was something that I wasn't taught. And even as a rookie, I maybe 5-6 months into the job, I knew on my own. I think I did about 9 months on the road before I went to street crimes, and that was it. Christmas Eve, I'm on day shift. I never did one night on midnights in my career.
Wow.
I did, being a dope guy, and obviously because people don't sell drugs at 9 a.m., I would go out at night, but I didn't do patrol midnight shift, never. And lost my train of thought because I was excited. I dodged midnights. But so anyway, on day shift, Christmas Eve, going home, and a little girl got waffled by a car. That's horrible terminology. Got hit by a car and died on Christmas Eve. And it messed me up. Like, I felt so bad for this young girl. I get home. I'm in a bad mood. And my wife at the time, she came in and, got mad at me for being in a bad mood. And I said, hey, I'm sorry. This is just what happened to me. And she looked at me and she goes, thanks for ruining my Christmas. And from that moment on, I didn't, best street crimes unit ever. You're damn right, Rich. We were. I wasn't mad at her. I never blamed her for it because I wasn't prepared for it. So how could I expect her to be prepared for it? But from that moment on, I never told her anything bad that happened. I might come home and tell a funny story or have to explain why I was bleeding or cuts or bruises and broken bones. But I would never say the dead babies and the rapes, which is every day, and just the horrible stuff.
See, I've been really blessed with him as I can talk to him about just about anything as long as it doesn't involve kids.
You can say anything you want, just anything involving kids. Just I can't deal with it.
I get it. I obviously I had a life-changing event. After I had my suicide attempt, I came back to work, which was crazy when I did it. Like people. That was my phone. That's what started this movement, really. I was like a guinea pig because so many guys were like, man, if that idiot could do what he did and come back to work, then I'm golden. I can go get help. Mm-hmm. And my very first day back to work, I got a brand new cop car. And my cop car was 37, which is a suicide. So I remember my boss to say when I was telling you earlier, he was pissed because he felt bad for me. And I was like, I own my shit. That's actually kind of cool. Mm-hmm. Then I lost my son. When I was in treatment, I lost my adopted 3.5-year-old son. Dude. So I lost my son in that era. So I come back to work, and my first call, the dispatch sends me to a DCF call, that's the Children and Families crap, to remove a child from their parents. And I'm like, you gotta freaking be kidding me. And so thank God I had a really cool unit who said, hey, no, don't send Doug to that. This is not cool. The dispatch didn't do it on purpose. It was just the way it evolved, right? But you can't avoid it, but I just didn't want to do it no more. Then my adopted son's parents were addicts. They abandoned him at birth, got off the table at birth, and vanished, right? And so then I had this animosity towards, addicts, right, which wasn't really fair. Mm-hmm. Later down the road, I realized, why they're addicts when I understood it more. But those things impact officers and firefighters in their own ways, little things like that. I never could... I never went to autopsies. I didn't like seeing that. Now, if I did it to you, it was okay, but I didn't want to see it from an accident Now, if you get your coconut blown off because you got somebody held hostage, that's your trophy. You earned it. But like a car accident or something like that used to really just impact me pretty heavily. And but fortunately for me, I always worked with the best of the best guys. I just, of course, every agency's got their jerks. My department was no different. We to this day, they're still there. And I can say it now because they're our supervisors. I'm gone, but I won't do that to the other guys. But for the most part, I always had wonderful partners. Wonderful. Like if I needed them, they were there, and that was important. And that saved my life. You know, my chiefs, stepped in. So I had one chief that didn't want to help me, and when he called me into his office, because I had 2 attempts, he told me, he said, "Hey, I don't know what's wrong with you, but whatever's wrong with you, you need to lock it in a closet and get your ass back to work." Okay, that was great. Great prep talk, guy. Thank God he
like
left. Right, yeah. Well, he left and the new chief came in, and when this happened to me, he was like, "Hey, this is one of our guys. We're going to fix him and bring him back because he's on the team," right? And that's what we need. We need more of that in there. We need to implement the mentoring programs. And so what I would say is, you have an open door to obviously you're in this industry somewhat, people now, and there's organizations out there that do it for free. We don't charge. We don't do it for free. Now, if we go to like the big organizations like me and the Trauma Behind the Badge guys, it's a paying gig. It's got nothing to do with Survive First. Survive First, everything is free. That's just me personally. And I have to do it that way because when you add money to something, it's a compromise. If you want to make it, because I've worked with agencies out there that even were cop run. When I first started doing this type of stuff, I linked up with people and they were all about the money. And I just didn't get along with them. Hey, man, and knock yourself out. If that's your thing, hey, man, go get yours, right? If you want to do it for money, do it for money. But I'm not in it for money. I'm in it because I got a second chance. I want to make sure everybody else gets a second chance, right? So there's plenty of organizations out there that step in and do it for free, and the other thing I say is pick the best ones that fit your need, because there's no room for on Survive First webpage, I think it's still there. There's a slogan we use for all the time. It says a first responder's life cannot be compromised. And if you don't bring the right organization in that fits your need, you're compromising your guys. You're doing them an injustice. And I'm really particular about that because I've worked with and there's some organizations out there are scumbags, and they only care about money. And so they'll take a cop and send them to some sort of help or program that sucks because they don't care because they're getting their pocket filled with money. I won't mention no names, but the place I went to, they did it to me. And that's another reason why I'm so bitter about that type of stuff. And then they lie about people in the industry because they're greedy. And then the guy goes there and it sucks. And then what's he going to do when he goes back to work?
You tell everybody.
That's a bunch of bull crap. They're lying, this, that, and the other. And then the guy in the room listening to it is the one who needs help and doesn't reach out for help. And he ends up shooting himself. And if you don't, we just had a local guy do it a couple weeks ago. Put a gun to his mouth and blew it, shot himself, man. And his department has been aware of it. His department has been offered it, but hasn't done it. And I'm not bashing them, but they haven't done it yet. And the reason I'm saying it's important. And obviously staffing and training and budgets are all big factors, but it has to be a priority now, especially now more than ever, no matter where you're at. So what I would say is, we and on most of the people we work with, we would come to you and do whatever we could. And most chiefs, and so obviously I speak at the chiefs conventions, and it's scary as hell, man, to sit on stage. And Chris damn near had to hold my hand the last one I did because I was home church. It was in Orlando, and there was like hundreds of chiefs, and I'm like, oh my God, these guys know me, I know them. And they all, chiefs always got that look on their face like you're asking them for money. And I joke about that, like you're asking for overtime money. And but they get it. and usually they got a lot of pressure on them for budget. So when we say, hey man, we'll do it for free, then the light bulb, you see that bang. The chief's got a boss too, right? I get it and understand it. So anyway, we're here to help. Anything you need, let us know, and we'll make sure that we facilitate it. We obviously work with people all over the United States. I work with organizations that do the same thing Survive First does. They're great So we got a teammate in the New England area, in Seattle. We all do the same thing. But if a guy calls me from Seattle, I go, hey man, why don't you call this company? They're in your back door, man. They'll help you out. Yeah, I don't need to do that. I got enough work over here. So we got plenty of that on there to help you guys out in any way. And so we're out of time, but I want to. So
that was fast.
It goes by real quick. I have a memory problem, but so when I saw you at the 5K race
right
last year, was it last year or the year before?
No, it's just
this year. This
year.
year. Okay. I don't even know. I have to ask my wife every day what day it is. So every day's Saturday for me, so it gets confusing. So
must be nice.
It is really freaking nice, dude. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't trying to brag or rub it in his face, but it's pretty freaking awesome, man. It's just to get up every day and do whatever the hell you want. Now, I mean, I flew 140,000 miles last year. I'm a busy guy, but it's different when you don't have to. I choose to do it, and it's cool because I go all over and I meet cops, man. I get to hang out.
You get to help cops.
And I get to help them, yeah.
Yep.
But believe it or not, they help me more than I probably help most of them. It helps me because I don't do the stuff that I should do, so it kind of helps. You know what I mean? Having the conversations and being in a positive atmosphere,
so
around.
They're your mentor.
Yeah, I guess you can. I've got tons of mentors. Some not so good. some are pretty bad. But I stay in my lane is what I say. So anyway, so you come up to me, right?
Right.
Because I want to remember it, so you can tell it. Because I'm probably gonna screw it up, and make it. And
I don't know what part of the story you.
So
I don't know what part of the story.
So I
is
was
appropriate.
standing.
Start with Sally.
Yeah. Tell us, Jesse. Can we have 5 more minutes?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I had a friend with City of Atlanta Police, and she shot and killed herself, or she shot herself in January and succumbed to her in January of 2000. And succumbed to, or December of 2000, succumbed to her injuries in January of 2001. I have stayed in touch with her mom, who lives here she lives in Satellite Beach. And so we had been coming down here on vacation and doing the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention walk every year with her family. And she said, oh, there's this organization in town, they're called Survive First. And they deal with law enforcement and issues that they have and treatment and all that kind of stuff. So I said, okay, well, check them out. Well, we found y'all and saw you were doing.
And I was informed I was going to the run.
Yeah. I said, oh, yeah,
I
honey.
feel your pain.
First weekend in January, right after New Year's Day, we're going down to Cocoa Beach. So we came down here and did the walk, and I found your wife, Karen.
Hey, we ran.
We ran. I actually ran the whole way. First 5K ever.
Good for you. I can't even do that.
Hey, our daughter ended up, what was it? She was number 2 for her age group?
Yeah, for her age
I do
group.
remember winning something.
Yeah. But then Karen directed us to you, and we came and chit-chatted with you.
You did. You came up, and for whatever reason, I didn't know, right? And I said, hey, well, this is my partner, Chris, that we do a show together. And you go, yeah, we know. We watch your show. And Chris and I, to this day, we looked at each other like, didn't they just say they were from Georgia?
Yeah.
And they watch our show? And it blew us. And it made us feel good because we were like, hey, man, it's working. If the positive messages get out there, it's working.
And on top of that, you were able to help out somebody with our agency. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool. That's always good to know.
I wonder if Tracy's watching it now. My sister-in-law's law enforcement as well.
Oh,
Up in
really?
Massachusetts, yeah.
Yeah, we Trauma Behind the Badge, man. We love Boston. And I think Chris, if you're still watching, are we going back anytime soon, hopefully? We did a Trauma Behind the Badge gig up there where we all spoke. And I'll tell you what, man, those guys are legendary.
Oh yeah.
They know how to get down up there. It was some of the best fun I've had in a long time. Now you can keep that weather. I'm in and out of there, but it was pretty fun. So that's pretty awesome. And that's so. And then we've stayed in contact. And then you're like, hey, I'm in town, and I was like, man, guess what y'all are doing tonight? Let's talk about your agency. And I want other people on the show to hear stories from other areas.
And it's important to know that you're not just Florida.
No.
You're affecting people in other areas too.
We're pretty. My buddy. I'm being punished for success. Like I'm always like, oh my goodness, man, I can't catch a break. Because now we've obviously, we're nationally recognized. I mean, damn, we just won an Emmy, man. And, we've done some pretty cool stuff, and I'm proud of my team. And I tell everybody, it's not me. I'm just the freaking crazy man who shot himself and lived. Karen runs everything, as you know, because if you
we saw that.
She does everything. And then our board of directors are amazing. And they're, their former IACP president and FBI NA. We've got military on there. We've got fire on there. I mean, we've got a awesome treasure. It's a process. I can't do it myself. I'm just the face. I'm just the guy that goes out and talks crap all day. They do all the hard work. So, call me on your way home. Okay, love you, brother. Anyway, so this is where I commute. I'm such a busy dude, 70 phone calls a day average. I have to talk to people some way this way. So anyway, it's been a pleasure having you guys. Well, I'm going to see you again
Our
more
pleasure.
this week. No, it's an honor to have you guys on the show. You guys are welcome back anytime. Hopefully, so the race this year is January 2nd. So, depending on how it falls down. So this year's going to be pretty brutal. We're hoping and we're praying that obviously all this COVID crap is gone, right? Because, the running community has to do everything virtual, and that sucks because our race is not the type you do virtual. Ours is more of
you got to have all the trucks. And
the fire
all the
cars
lights.
and the lights.
It's
and
the whole ambiance of it that you got to have.
Yeah, you need
And speaking of which, Cullen, you need to get down here for that this year.
Yeah, I would love for him to come. And so we're planning it, and it's a pretty big event. Like, it's shockingly really, really cool. So we obviously we hope to have you guys back there this year. And anybody else you want to bring, they're welcome to come to the race, and we'll put them in there. My racing days are over, obviously. I just sit there and talk crap into the mic before the race. But anyway.
I thought you said you were going to do the SWAT uniform this year.
Oh, no, man. I can barely run to the bathroom, man, in the middle of the night. Since this back surgery, I'm walking, and I do some little trots in between because I'm never going to quit. Even on the last show, I've got some plans next year. So I'm going to race next year is my plan. So we'll see what happens. So anyway, thank you guys. Let me shout out to obviously our sponsors. We've got some great friends and people out there. If anybody needs anything, to let us know. And then because this is Karen's job and Chris's job. If you watch the show, I usually just tune
I remember.
out. Tomorrow night, Trauma Behind the Badge. If you want to do any of our webinar series, they are incredible, man. They're really cool. It's a great team of guys. We have a doctor on the show every week. I'm forward, and I'm surrounded by the best guys. They're just awesome. It's a lot of fun, and you can find that at traumabehindthebadge.com. So you go on there to register, and then that puts you on to the web at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time tomorrow night. We're going to have Warriors Rest on the show to talk about training and peer support again, ironically. And that's it. So tune in tomorrow night. TBTB. I get it now, Chris. I never dawned on me like that. And that's kind of nice because I'm sick of saying the whole name out. Who thought of this? Chris, it's your fault. You came up with the name. So anyway... and he is the Bike Bell. Because every show they got to make fun of my tight shirt. This shirt isn't that tight, is it? I keep it low because it's kind of an assassin shirt, but and they make fun of me because I ride a 2-seater bike with my wife.
Oh, that's adorable.
Listen, man, I love my wife. I'm proud of it, and it's fun. And we talk to each other, and we ride racing bikes in the morning, and then at night we ride the tandem bike. So anyway,
No.
no, all my friends, because I've tried to get every one of them like suckered into it, so I can just not the only one.
Can we put them facing different directions?
No, it don't work like that. Anyway, thanks everybody for tuning in. I see you, Doug. Thanks for coming on the show. I love you, brother. And quit saying Yeah, I know. I learned that, and you got to do the classes. Whatever. It's my show. Fuck off. Good night, everybody.